A genre of movie that we've been pretty hard on over the last few years is the music biopic. And yet there's one music biopic that we all collectively enjoy. The Judd Apatow, Jake Kasdan produced Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Coming after such other popular music biopics as Ray in 2004 and Walk the Line in 2005, Walk the Line was nominated for a handful of Academy Awards and won Reese Witherspoon Best Actress. You wouldn't think that America was ready for another music biopic of a legendary figure like Dewey Cox so soon after that. John C. Reilly stars as Dewey Cox, one of America's most versatile early rock and roll legends.
This was a particularly bad case of somebody being cut in half. I was not able to reattach the top half of his body to the bottom half of his body.
Speak English, Doc. We ain't scientists.
Born in Springberry, Alabama in 1946, Mr. Cox had a tragic beginning when he accidentally cut his brother in half with a machete and simultaneously lost his sense of smell.
You gone smell blind, son.
His father, Pa Cox, never forgave him for cutting his brother in half.
The wrong kid died.
And in 1953, when his early rock and roll style caused a commotion in Springberry,
you know who's got hands? The devil. And he uses them for holding.
Dewey left to make his way on his own, a 14-year-old boy with a 12-year-old girlfriend named Edith. Through a hard beginning, Dewey persevered, working as a janitor at an African-American dance hall, until through a stroke of luck he was discovered by Hasidic record label executives who gave him a chance to record what would become his first hit single, Walk Hard.
And if somehow you were able to sing a song now, bringing these boys together you haven't even met, and make something so personal, so new, that the whole world takes notice, and that your life is never the same again. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think it's going to happen.
Mr. Cox's life had many ups and downs from there. Drug addiction, accidentally getting double married and then divorced from Edith. He stayed married to his backup singer, Darlene. But drugs had their hooks in Dewey Cox. Arrests and stints in rehab followed.
The 60s are an important and exciting time.
Aren't they? It's like there's something happening here. And what it is ain't exactly obvious.
In the 1960s, Dewey and Darlene lived in Berkeley, California. Traveled to India and met with the Beatles, got involved in the Short Panther Party, but also Mr. Cox became involved with PCP, and a divorce and more stints in rehab followed. The 1970s were a sad time. Dewey Cox couldn't write a song to save his life, and his TV show never really took off. But he managed to reconnect with his 36 kids, and then with Darlene, who he'd be with for the rest of his life. Walk Hard stars John C. Reilly, Jenna Fischer, Tim Meadows, Chris Parnell, Matt Bessner, and Kristen Wiig, and has so many cameos. Jack White playing Elvis, Frankie Muniz as Buddy Holly, Jack Black, Paul Rudd, Justin Long, and Jason Schwartzman as the Beatles.
The Beatles, the four Beatles. Us.
From Liverpool.
Yes, we are from Liverpool. We used to play those dark clubs in Hamburg. You remember that, Paul?
Of course I do. I booked them.
The Temptations, Eddie Vedder, Ghostface Killah, Lyle, Lovett, Jewel, the list goes on and on and on.
My girl, darling, my girl, yeah. My girl.
The Temptations.
When it's cold outside.
You wouldn't think such a serious music biopic would work with all these comedians playing roles, but Dewey Cox's life was full of more comedy than you'd think. It's a touching, although sometimes silly, portrait of a complicated artist who has been compared to Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison, but also with elements of Bob Dylan, Jim Morrison, Neil Diamond, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Brian Wilson.
You don't want this, dirty old Cox.
Oh, I want it more than ever.
Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Conan Neutron is the host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and the frontman for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. You can check out his music and hopefully buy some at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan is going on tour and will be in cities on the East Coast, DC on the 15th, Boston on the 16th, Providence, New York, Philadelphia, Youngstown, Detroit, Chicago, and then to Caterwall. Get tickets at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and a Twitch streamer. You can find her streaming at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. All of her social media accounts are also at Cosmopolitics. She's on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and even occasionally on Letterboxd. Hi, of course, I'm your host, otherwise known as the Drifter, the Shapeshifter, the Master Chef, the Chameleon, Forrest Miller. Get out of here, Conan. You don't want no part of this shit.
Fantastic. Well, you know, it's a episode whose time has come. Really, like now more than ever, right? I mean, amazing.
I don't know if it worked as well as I wanted it to, but I decided for the intro I would pretend that like this was like a serious biopic and that Dewey Cox was like an American legend that we all know and love. And I tried to just go.
I think it worked. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't realize that this was a satire. I thought this was just a regular biopic. It does all the things that they all do. I mean,
every single one of them. And I like that every year there's a new one that comes out. Like
the Weird Al one.
And it follows all those same. Well, the Weird Al one was good because, like, at least what I saw of it, because it was like funny.
Wait, what you saw of it?
I mean, I don't know. I didn't end up watching the entire.
I love that you leaped in to talk about a movie that you didn't watch the entirety of. But sure, yeah.
But I'm saying like what I saw of it worked as like a satire.
All the tropes.
Absolutely, it worked. It worked much like this does as an upending of the form, right? Which is what you like. The fact that because Mangold did Walk the Line as well as the Dylan one, right?
Yep.
The fact that he could do that. And just guilelessly, just like, oh yeah, this is just a thing. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm just doing this thing. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like this movie should have ended these types of movies. Like it's because Ray was huge. Walk the Line was huge. No, I mean like seriously, like it's like how would you make like a Bohemian Rhapsody after this? You know, how do you make a fucking
Rocket Man was pretty good, but
okay. Well, you name one that's okay. One out of like seemingly thousands.
Well, that's not a biopic.
Musical biopic. The musical biopic is what I'm talking about.
He didn't dance.
Are you arguing for musical biopics? Because I'm just gonna get off this show if that's the case. I mean, it's a garbage form. It's a garbage form that like, again, it's the reason why this is so funny is because we know these tropes, right? And we know these tropes, and it wouldn't work if it wasn't so funny. It wouldn't work if the songs weren't so good. The songs are great. The songs are really, really good. And that's one of the reasons for me, like why it's better than just like, oh yeah, that was funny, and then you don't think about it again. But I've seen this like plenty of times, and I mean, and these movies were so. I mean, you look at them now, and it's like even at the time, it's like it's a little cloying. I like Walk the Line. I like Ray too. I mean, it was fine, you know, but. It became just such a formula. Well, La Mama's a good one. Again, you keep mentioning the good ones, but
like ones leading up to like the 2000s got a little muddy. You know,
but that's when this came out, right?
Yeah.
So that's when this. So since that's when this came out, that's kind of what I'm referring to because that's what it's directly lampooning.
Yeah.
So
Buddy Holly was good.
Yeah. Well, you had like people start to play with the form, like the Bob Dylan one, where it's like like 10 different people playing. What is like I'm Still Here, whatever. Whatever it's called. Where it's like a bunch of different Bob Dylans, and they're all playing Bob Dylan. Like you had people.
Todd Haynes. Was that Todd Haynes that did that?
Yeah,
right?
I think so. And that's better than the one that James did with Timothy Chalamet.
But what I'm saying is like you had people already realize like pretty fast that this is like a very tired form, and because for every good one, there's like 50 not so good ones. Like when you look at the list of biopics, there's like so many that I haven't even heard of that I'm like, oh no, this sounds terrible. Like this sounds like literally like the most cut and dry like. Oh, you put a guy here. There's and like this, Dewey Cox, of course, like perfectly lampoons it. There's trauma at the beginning. The trauma informs the rest of their music career. They make it big, but you don't expect they're going to make it big, because if you expected they're going to make it big, then there wouldn't be anything interesting about it. So it has to be like someone you'd never expect to make it big. Apparently, everyone in the music industry is someone you'd never expect to make it big.
Right.
And then they try to shoehorn as many other cameos. Oh, look, there's Elvis. Oh, look, there's, like they run into people, and you can tell that it's literally just because they could, they found someone that kind of looks like that guy, or they found someone that they wanted to cast as that guy. Like Jack White as Elvis in this absolutely nails it, because it's like, that's clearly Jack White. Like there's no Elvis to that. I mean, like, besides that he knows karate, he goes, look out, man. Like that whole, like, but it's like, they cast like Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle as Buddy Holly.
Right, yeah.
The race car driver?
Yeah, the race car driver, Frankie Muniz. But like, and then, of course, like the Paul Rudd, Jack Black, Jason Schwartzman, Justin Long, Beatles thing.
Now that's the Beatles biopic I want to see, because they actually look more like the Beatles.
No, me too.
The four biopics of each individual Beatle. Oh my God, just make it
like
to
the
an
whole
Apple
time,
TV series.
Like, they do the thing, and you still see it in these biopics where it's like, oh, the Beatles, the 4 Beatles from Liverpool. Like they have to give you like the background to like, these are the Beatles, like, you know who these are, like.
Well, and that's why they're tropes, right? Because we're so used to seeing this, and there are so many of them. And again, the problem I have with, like, Kristina, with you mentioning just the good ones, is there are good ones. Is that they're so rare.
And
there is a scene in a well, no, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about like a movie that should have ended that form in the hacky way that it became known in the mid 2000s. Because there is literally a scene in Complete Unknown that is in this movie. Yeah, where it's like, you just didn't watch the movie, or like you just like, do you not have people in your life that will tell you like, maybe, not? And I don't even think James Mangold makes bad movies. I'm just so sick of seeing this type of movie, and to have it all so formulaic, yes, and to have it articulated so devastatingly, but again with great performances and really good songs, like that's what makes this an outlier.
One of the funny things about this movie is that they did the Scott Pilgrim. I was watching like some of the making of featurettes, and they did the Scott Pilgrim where the 4 got like, Tim Meadows and Chris Parnell, like none of them could play the instruments. So they had a guy come on set and teach them how to pretend to play the instruments. And then they actually said that by the end of it, they could play their songs, which is more than you could say about Scott Pilgrim, I guess.
Yeah, the more than you say what like a time Chris Murphy had with those guys. Yeah, except for, one out of the 3 was, I mean, I think he said Alison Pill actually had it was a pretty good study, right? So good for her.
Yeah. Well, and of course, there's like the one guy at the center, like John C. Reilly has like a long, history of like musical theater. Like he's in Chicago.
Yeah, he's got a background. Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why, if you're going to make this kind of movie, first of all, don't at this point. But if you do, try to get someone that at least has a background in music. Like who is it? There's is it Jeff Daniels has like a blues band or something? Am I remembering that correctly? Is it Jeff Daniels? Yeah. And there's like, there's other, and like, not that they're good. I mean, Russell Crowe has a band too. They're atrocious. Steven Seagal has a band. They're
don't mention Russell Crowe in musicals, please. Do not do that to me, Conan. His band's fine, but
I'm just saying, for this kind of movie, and usually now I just actively avoid them unless it's something like a Complete Unknown where I kind of have to like pay attention to it, right? When you're a musician and you see someone that does not know how to play music, like it takes you out of the movie immediately. Like you are whatever. It can be the best performance in the world. It doesn't matter. You are now being like, that person's not playing guitar. That person's not playing piano or whatever.
Unless they do the thing here where, at least at the beginning of it, right, when they're playing Walk Hard, they're so clearly not playing. Like
you have to go the opposite direction, right? Yeah. And Weird does that too. The Weird Al movie, like they do that a little bit as well. But like that, and that goes into the comedic aspect of it, right? So when you're playing like as serious as a heart attack, like all the Mangold stuff, like that's obviously not going to work. But I
think what works about this is that you literally have John C. Reilly kind of playing it serious as a heart attack. Like, the other characters are around him. Like, there's something so overtly sincere about his portrayal of Dewey Cox that it's like, I think this wouldn't work. Like, even when he's ripping the sinks out of the wall and shit like that, right? Like, there's like an emotional core there.
There's a pathos to it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like arguably, clown, I guess. Yeah. I don't know if I don't think we've talked about it, but like Leslie Nielsen. right? Everything he's doing in Naked Gun and Police Squad and all that, he was known as a serious actor. He was not known as a comedic actor, but he played it completely seriously, and so situationally it was funny. But like he's playing it like it's not like wink wink nudge nudge. And I think he started
to lose that later on, which kind of I think that's what kind of tanked a lot of his roles, because he's like, I'm walking around with a fart machine, and it's like this is
he was in every bad parody movie in the 2000s, and it's like, ugh.
I get it, I understand, and I agree. What I'm saying is, when it worked, the reason why it worked is because he was playing it very seriously, and I think that's something that, again, in this like very ironic, post deconstructionist age of like being meta aware of everything, that's kind of been lost as a comedic art form, because everything has to be meta referential and this and that and blah blah blah. Not really. You don't really need to do that, and that's what makes this one of the great music movies for me. Is just because it's like, I mean, it's doing all. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Senator. It's a fictional character, but it may as well, it's like there's like his Elvis, there's Johnny Cash, there's Roy Orbison. He's pulling from all these different, he has a great Roy Orbison, by the way. Like if there ever was a Roy Orbison biopic, it's like you could get John.
Yeah, I messaged that to the chat when I was watching.
Oh, that was you. Sorry,
No, it's all right. No, I'm saying, but I messaged that to the chat because he does the vibrato thing, right? That Roy Orbison does with his voice, where it's like, he does that so perfectly when he's doing like his Roy Orbison impression, essentially. But they take so liberally from all of these different artists, right? Like literally That's Amore thing is what the Sun City Records Elvis when Elvis auditioned for Sun City Records, and they actually shot that, I think, at Sun City Records. Like they actually found they set it up for that because they wanted to do that. But Elvis literally tried to audition with all Dean Martin songs, and they were like, this isn't you. Like, this is not your thing. Like, we need to find something that's you, that's not, being Dean Martin. So like,
let's find black music for you to bastardize instead.
It was like, but like, and the scene before this does the exact same thing where, literally he gets plucked out of, and I'm glad they don't do it in a preachy way, but the whole Craig Robinson bit where it just so happens that he's like the janitor going around, and Craig Robinson just happens to have laryngitis and also punch his landlord, which is, I love that they're not afraid to go over the top with like these things where like, you shouldn't have punched your landlord the same day you got the laryngitis, but like that over the top thing, right? He gets to literally be the black guy. And I remember being 12 years old and hearing you gotta love your Negro man, like that whole song. And I remember thinking that was the funniest shit I ever heard in my life.
Well, sure, and I think that's something where it also has the self-awareness of it, that like they have an exaggerated sense of appreciation too, because at first they're ready to be like, what the hell, let's get this guy, and they're like, oh, actually, pretty good, and then then everyone just starts frenetically dancing, which is just great. I mean, because it's just like, what is every scene where the character, I mean, I think honestly that may have been in the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie. I don't know, I've blocked most of that from my memory. Right? Yeah, I think they actually have a scene like that, but again, guilelessly, and it looks like an Instagram reel, but
but like and there's something interesting about, like, I like that they do this with like the same thing that with the Johnny Cash thing, right, where his brother drowned at the beginning of the movie, and he gets blamed for it over and over again, and then the dad obviously blames him, and that's his trauma. But the funny thing about remaking like a similar movie to that with James Mangold, where it's Bob Dylan, there's no trauma that's pushing Bob Dylan forward, right? Like Bob Dylan is just an asshole. So the whole movie, he's just that's
he's a contrarian.
Like you don't need some traumatic story to be like, I like music now. Like, no, it could be something you grew up with. Your parents, wanted you, to show off your talents and stuff. Like, there does have to be some tragic backstory to want to make it. Unless you have a momager or stage parents.
I think that's the one like big, the big change, I guess, in this kind of format that like the Bob Dylan movie had to make. Because it's like, they're just, Bob Dylan didn't have like a traumatic, there's no trauma pushing him. But this movie kind of, I can't ever take that part, that kind of thing seriously anymore. And it's the only way that kind of someone's life can make sense in a linear narrative is something like that, right? Like for a biopic where you're like, I'm just going to make somebody's life as like a movie. It's like something has to, actually be like the catalyst to why that person is the way they are. And it's like, oh yeah, like the catalyst is usually like, oh, like they're not going to tell anyone that they cut their brother in half with a machete.
And you know what biopic is almost like remember when Kevin Spacey did Beyond the Sea as Bobby Darin, and they added so many, like the list of historical inaccuracies that in that biopic. I'm like, what was the point of making like the biopic? Like he was there when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. He was not like some recluse in like a trailer park somewhere on a mountain. Like I'm like, what? And I feel like this movie makes fun of the whole like, we're going to twist and turn like all the facts about this person's story to make it seem like, oh,
the truthiness.
This is what happened. Yeah, the truthiness. And it drives me nuts with some of these biopics. I'm like, the real story is actually a lot more juicy than the fantastical nonsense of it, which is why Rocket Man is better than Bohemian Rhapsody, because warts and all matter.
Yeah, I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody is another just example of just
warts and all matter.
Like when you see them like writing the title song in like 3 minutes, it's like no, that is not how that's done. And also, go ahead.
No, I'm just this is another thing that this movie does so fucking perfectly.
Make a list of things that this movie does.
Yeah, like literally the every time he comes up with
we
a song,
don't know the song. It's like, just watch me for the changes. No, man, that is not how that works. That is not how it's any musician ever. You know, you have to like, it has to be if it's a song that they know and they're used to being like a backing band or something. Okay. Or like maybe like two of the people know and the other person's going to fake their way through it. Fine. But like Watch Me for the Changes is such a ridiculous, no, that does not work ever. Like even of course, Back to the Future being like the most egregious example of that. It's like, come on. No way, dude.
Yeah.
We've never even heard this kind of music before.
Walk Hard is such a good thing too, because it's not just the music. Because you could be like, oh, well, they muddle through whatever, but the fact that it's the lyrics too. That Chris Parnell starts off watching his face, and
amazing,
he's like trying to, which is it's the bit from SNL where it's kind of the bit from SNL where it's Kristen Wiig and I can't remember if it's Jimmy Fallon or one of those people where they try to finish the lyrics for each other, but it's like it's always something they're improvising. They're like,
whoa, wait, Fred Armisen. It's Fred Armisen. I think. They did the Weekend Update.
But they do. But it's that. But it's Chris Parnell instantaneously getting whatever the lyrics are, and then knowing the lyrics and just going from there. And it's like,
it's funny because it is so over the top. And like again, like it's not meant to be like if it was played straight, to be like, oh my god, ridiculous. But like, it's it hits it perfectly.
I remember even at like, because I first saw this when I want to say 12, and it was right after it. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I think I saw it right in the middle of like the DVD release. Like it just came out, and I was like, oh, this seems really funny. I know this is the Johnny Cash thing, and like I remember like I think I saw Walk the Line really young, but I might have just somehow my mind might have just pulled it in. But I think I remember seeing Walk the Line when I was really young, and then being like, oh, I know this is gonna be Johnny Cash, but it's John C. Reilly, and like knowing all the Judd Apatow movies that were coming out at the same time. And I had this movie on DVD and I watched it a million fucking times. And I remember even being like 13 and knowing this shouldn't work, but it did. And like not having any, because I took like a lot of improv classes when I was like a teenager, like a young teenager, like in middle school and stuff. Cause I was like in a school that did like a lot of acting stuff. So I knew about like improv and I knew about like kind of the elements of comedy, like kind of vaguely, but like I still remember being that young and being like, I don't really understand why this works so well. And like now I do, as like someone that thinks about film a lot more. But like I remember just being like, the elements of this just shouldn't, even at this age, like I feel like this shouldn't work pulled together. Like
and there's a lot of things to it, and like the again, the Beatles, right? Like they do the As You Know thing. Well, as you know, we're from Liverpool.
Yeah.
We used to play those dark clubs, right? And it was like, which is something that like happens in every one of these movies when another musician shows up, and it's, it's done so well, like the bilingual thing. Where like Dewey's speaking German and Lahaim is speaking English. I mean that's hilarious. That's great.
There's something I love that because it could only be German. I think. I mean, it could only be German that like this would work with. Yeah. But the fact that it's rehab, And he's like, what? And he's like, rehab. And he's like, huh? And he's like, rehab. And he's like, oh, rehab.
They're trying to make me go to rehab.
Yeah, so great, right? And you know, the best example, it's in your tagline, right? Of the do not do the cool thing, you know, which is the drugs are bad, but actually drugs are good. You know, get out of here, Dewey. You don't want none of this. You know, and like explains all the reasons why you would. It's like, actually, that sounds great. I do want to do that. You know, amazing, and it's done like 4 times.
Yeah.
You know, great.
I've seen this movie so many times that I've seen it at like I was at like a friend's house and everyone was like kind of smoking, like hanging out, and I remember watching this for like the millionth time with friends, and we would have this bit after that where we would be at parties and someone would walk into the room and they'd be like, "Get out of here, Dewey! You don't want no part of this." And we would recite it word by word where he's like, when he's smoking, he's like, "It's reefer. It's he's like, well, does it give me a hangover? It doesn't give you a hangover." And he's like,
right.
Well, you know, like, I don't know. The whole bit is just so funny. He's like, am I going to get addicted? It's non-habit forming. He's like, is it going to make me want to have sex? He's like, it makes sex even better. And he's like, I think I kind of want it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just so good. Like, and then just as like the escalating drugs of the entire thing, right? Because it's never like, it has to be like a linear projection for the thing to be funny. Someone's like cocaine, and he's like, you know, it's like it turns your bad feelings into good ones. And then the fucking pills, he's like uppers and downers. It's the next logical step for you. Like each time, it's such a good description of what the thing is,
and an escalation, right? Because because then you get all the montages of him on the various drugs, and like he has a psychedelic period, and this, you know, and it's all just it's so great. I mean, like it's so well done. You know, the small things like him being smell blind, right? And so, which is like the Ray Charles thing. That's like I think that is like the one side effect of this movie doing all this stuff is that you don't normally have the like, oh, they have a physical something physically wrong with it. But again, that's also just Ray Charles, right? So you don't see that as much. But
it's like, they had Ray just come out 2004, right? Where it's like,
well, also the Aviator's not a musical biopic, but it was, you know, Scorsese and DiCaprio. But that year was like they were like neck and neck for like the Oscar that year.
Yeah, I think there was something with Johnny Cash where it wasn't a physical like, I don't know. I feel like there was something that like had a similar like ring to it. It wasn't like a I don't know. I can't remember what it was in my head that I was like, yeah, this makes sense with the whole Johnny Cash thing too. I mean, I guess maybe it's just his brother drowned, but
well, yeah, but it's a machete thing instead. Yeah, I mean, and that's which is amazing, and they play it up because it's like oh, and then like no, no, like you almost like 4 or 5 like false. Hey, let's do this. Let's go run around on these tractors and whatever. But I think one of my favorites is definitely like when. You know, was it the high school dance, right? The high school talent show, and they play that like sweet "Take My Hand," and like everybody's like flipping out and gyrating and going. And again, that's just like, you know,
every girl goes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Baz Luhrmann thing too, and like you know, it's the same thing. We've seen that. There has to be that scene in every one of these movies, and it's so great because it's just like. Why would you be freaking out about that song, right? Of course you wouldn't. Everyone wouldn't become a sex-crazed nymphomaniac immediately. You know, the teenage boys wouldn't immediately turn violent, you know? like, but it's like that's
the gang
what makes
members
it funny.
And the girls be wearing, you know, jeans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No more poodle skirts.
But it is like the narrative of both the Elvis, you know, hips thing where the narrative that's been passed down, right? Like it's obviously a ridiculous thing to actually imagine happening, but the narrative of this time period that's been passed down, number one is people going feral over Elvis's hips and it becoming such a problem that like you know, the government had to get involved and try to shut down Elvis's hips. And then also the Beatles touring and it becoming such like an event that like the FBI was trying to like different like, you know, law enforcement agencies were trying to shut down these rock concerts because of this feral reaction that they claimed.
And then John Lennon said we're bigger than Jesus, and that got them canceled for a while.
My mom was telling me actually that her dad somehow managed to score like the tickets to see the Beatles, and then because he was an extremely strict Catholic, it was right like days before John Lennon said we're bigger than Jesus, and when he said we're bigger than Jesus, he threw out the tickets and didn't let his kids go. So she didn't get to go see the Beatles.
That's just so sad.
Which is crazy because, of course, and I know we all know this, but what he actually was saying that like he thinks it's crazy how out of control the hype has gotten, and that it's not like he's saying like we are bigger than. It's just like it's inappropriate for this to be this big, and but nobody paid attention to that. It's the headline, and then
I don't think my extreme Catholic grandpa got the nuance there.
Of course not. No one else did either. No one else did either. By the way, small thing just on the scene I mentioned earlier with the talent show. I love the other players are all kids, and it's still just John C. Reilly as same age he normally is, playing a kid, which
but it's
that's a great gag too.
So well with fucking even like Spider-Man coming out, right? And it's, we talked about this so many times. It's like it's
the world's oldest high schoolers,
yeah. Yeah. But the mom was in so many TV shows and stuff. I forget the actress's name, but she's in so many different TV shows and all that stuff too. But the way that she plays it is so great. Where she's still she loves her son, and she's like I'm so happy you could play such a song so good even without any sense of smell. And it's I learned Margot ears, Mom.
It's Margot Martindale is her name, by the way. She's a great character actress. She's fucking awesome. She's been like a million different things.
Damn. Stevie's great grandpa threw his grandma's Elvis out the window.
You know what drives me nuts about some of these biopics? You know what drives me nuts about some of these biopics is when James obviously did, Walk the Line, and of course the Bob Dylan one. I mean, there are some people who think I could strike, gold twice with these musical biopics. The same thing happened with the Selena biopic. Good biopic, and then the next year the guy who directed it did Why Do Fools Fall in Love, which was about Frankie and Lyman's 3 wives, and even that itself was a parody because it was a big joke as well. I couldn't find one serious part about that movie, and it just drove me nuts. I'm like, interesting concept, right? About the wives, about a certain time period, like a specific, like a court case. But it's like, no, that's not how this is supposed to work. And that's why I love this one so much, because again, it picks fun of all the tropes when it comes to these biopics. Like you could list 500 of them.
I feel like
some of these directors need to know when no means no,
I feel like the form where this does kind of work is like TV with like somebody like Ryan Murphy who can bang out a million of these that everyone's gonna forget. Like they're not, none of it's gonna be remembered, right? Like it's going to be
it's not designed
forgotten.
To be remembered. Yeah, it's designed to be forgotten immediately. Yeah, of course.
But I feel like the genre of kind of this biopic thing, he's managed to turn it into like where I think it should rest. Like I think they should stop making it as movies and they should let that guy do like limited series, and then I don't have to watch it if I don't want to. Yeah.
That wasn't too bad, but I hate the verses, like the this versus that or whatever. Some of them are good, like the Betty versus Joan one. Though a lot of that was obviously exaggerated. Again, another trope where they want to make things more dramatic and spicy, but I feel like a limited series makes more sense than a movie.
Yeah, his series of the OJ season he did of American Crimes, that I like that. I think that was like a good.
Know, David Schwimmer was a good Robert Kardashian Sr.
No, but I liked Cuba Gooding Jr. doing OJ Simpson. I thought that was like a good.
Well,
I was like, all right, I could. I don't know. I think that, but because when this becomes a thing for movies, right? And this is what they're making fun of from the very beginning of this movie. It's like Oscar award. Like they're making fun of from the beginning. This is it's Oscar bait. Supposed to be Oscar bait. Like they design it to be Oscar bait. And
it even has the he dies 3 minutes after performing his last song. Amazing, great. And you get the montage that's the award season where it's Jackson Brown and Jewel and Lyle Lovett and Ghostface Killah covering Walk Hard on stage. It's amazing.
And the really stupid Eddie Vedder tribute, which sounds like all of those tributes.
Every single tribute, yes.
Yeah, yes. I've seen so many of those speeches. I'll just get bored sometimes of watching like that on YouTube. And the speeches where it's he walked hard and made us realize we could walk too. And
exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
And it's a guy that has no actual tangible connection to the person, or if they do, it's really vague. And they're giving the speech of when he, and so it's they're reading off the teleprompter, I don't know why the fuck I'm here. When he walked hard, we all fought, we all he made us feel like we could also walk hard.
It kind of reminded me of like Michael Jackson's memorial service, and people who hadn't spoken to him in decades were like, I knew Michael my whole life, and this is what I think. And I'm like, you haven't taught them since like 1979. What are you talking about? Get off the stage.
I feel like I'm gonna pack it in if like they try to do like a Michael Jackson vibe, like that.
They're already doing it. They're doing it.
It's already in production.
They're reshooting it.
They're
There's
never going to.
no way that's going to be an okay thing. There's no way they're going, and there's no way that's going to age well.
Jackson's son is playing him. His nephew's playing him, and Lionsgate, who's come out with bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb, is producing, which is not good. It's going to be like 5 hours long. They have no idea how to address the child molestation accusations in '93.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it feels like it's.
They want to add that in the movie, but there's a contract where it can't get portrayed, and so they're cutting it or not.
They should make P. Diddy play.
It's coming out in October, and the only question is whether or not they're going to split it into 2 parts or not.
Just make Lisa Marie Presley's book into a limited series, and that's it.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is that like every part of this, like including again, like he can't smell, and that's his thing to overcome, right? You know, and like they always have like some conflict, except for A Complete Unknown, where he's just like, oh, he's just kind of a dick, right? Yeah. But again, it was successful. Was it like a huge box office success, like Walk the Line? No, but it got like lots of award season acclaim, which is enough. Yeah. So that's why they keep making them, is because people still go to them, and they're successful. And it makes me insane because there is a way to do this well, but that's not what anyone's doing.
And there's already Michael Jackson biopic, which was a miniseries about how the Jacksons became a celebrated group. Like, we don't need anything after Thriller. Like, we don't really need anything after that, honestly. Like, that was perfect. That was a good miniseries. Loved it. But there's really not much to do after that, honestly, without there being controversy.
And I almost feel like we should have had Eileen Jones on this too, because I think she may actually hate musical biopics more than I do. And that's saying a lot. But like, it's for all the same reasons we're talking about, right? It's just like this easy thing to do that, oh, well, it was such a transformative role. And they always say that even when it isn't. Yeah. Even when it is a transformative role at all. It's like, well, because they put on makeup or like,
You've done 6 of these transformative roles. What are you talking about?
Right. And so there's this usual biopic absurdity where it's just mashing together big public events and key moments and private relationships, and it's so formulaic, and it doesn't matter what the person's life is, because there's just, you got to like touch these moments at these different times. And like Forrest, you had a very salient critique of Complete Unknown basically not doing Pete Seeger any favors, even though like Edward Norton,
my longtime homie PC.
And just you've seen black performers appear in the film only to be like pushed aside immediately, which is again done for comedic effect here.
But they did it in Elvis too,
exactly, guilelessly. One of the many reasons, and to be clear, I am a Baz Luhrmann hater. Like at this point, I hate more of his movies than I like. By a large margin.
2 of them.
And you know why? Because they're terrible. Because he's a bad director that has bad instincts and is rewarded for bad behavior. I'm sorry. Like, there needs to be like give him like an intervention.
This whole genre feels like it's rewarded for bad behavior.
Yeah. It's not for me. I'll dial that back and say it's quintessentially like you'd have to design it in a lab to be more not for me. Let's put it that way.
Listen, Conan. I'm a millennial, and as a freshman who read Romeo and Juliet, we did watch the Baz Luhrmann version as well. Okay,
again the exception that proves the rule. Like that Romeo and Juliet's fine. It's fine. Like
story sucks, but I didn't mind seeing the young Leo. Okay. I'm just saying.
I get it, and I get that you have nostalgia for it. I do not have nostalgia for any of these movies.
I think they made us. Yeah, I think they made us watch Romeo plus Juliet. I think that was our Romeo and Juliet too when we watched it, when we had it in freshman.
And we got tested the Shakespearean original language, and not that was really confusing.
Yeah. So that definitely
we all bombed it, but anyway.
But I mean, having nostalgia for something makes it enjoyable, but doesn't make it good. That doesn't make it well done. Like I had so many people that like otherwise are like sensible people try to say that the Elvis movie was good. I was like, I'm sorry, which part of it was did you feel was good? Because I feel like the whole thing.
The miniseries with King Henry, that British actor, was a lot better than the Baz Luhrmann movie. Let's be real here. That miniseries that came out like in 05.
It was still, yeah.
Yeah.
Right before the Oscars, when it came out on demand, the Elvis was still $6.99, and I was like, okay, this is like the one big one I haven't watched. And I tried to watch. I think I got through a third of it. I got to he's white, and I was like, all right, I'll stick through it. I'll stick through it a little bit more of this, and then it was like Tom Hanks being creepy, and I was like, I can't. I have not.
What I will say. What I will say, and this is a nice thing I can say about it, I think the second half is better than the first half. But I mean, the first half is it's intolerable.
The build up is taking forever.
Yeah, well, it takes forever, and again, it's so he's doing every trope, but he's just doing with like, oh, I'm going to include like rap music in here, and like I'm going to make this look like it was done on.
That's where I gave up on it. That's where I gave up on it.
It's ridiculous, and again, that's someone that like all he has is stylization. He doesn't have an idea in his head. Okay, I guess I'm back to insulting Baz Luhrmann. Sorry, but
that's
literally headline the number one Baz Luhrmann hater.
I'm just remembering where I quit the movie, and it was Elvis going in, and there's like rap playing in the background, and I was like, no.
It's
Elvis went to a house party. Like
it is deeply cringe, as the kids say. It is 100% cringe. But the thing is, it does all the same biopic things. Even though he got all this praise for like the choreography and like the look of it, which I think both were god awful personally. But like he got all this praise. Oh, it's so unique and interesting. I'm sorry, unique, okay, interesting, no. Unique doesn't mean good. It just means different.
That's why Priscilla was like, I need to do my story.
Right.
Well, everybody wants to do their story. If you throw a fucking rock, you can hit a fucking past their prime rock and roll person that's like, I'm gonna do my story. Like,
oh my god, you know what? Netflix had a Motley Crue movie, and it had all the tropes as well. It was so bad.
I don't want to know. I don't want to watch a Motley Crue documentary, let alone like a.
Yeah, the guy who played Ozzy Osbourne in a cameos movie in that movie played Keith in The Righteous Gemstones, and it was funny. Like the only good scene with Ozzy Osbourne in that movie. But again, so many of these biopics still, you would think that they would learn, guys. You would think that after
they get rewarded for it. They get rewarded
for it. Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, come on.
That's why they don't. It's not learning. It's successful amongst like people that are not on movie shows, but like people go to them. Don't go to these movies. Stop doing it. Stop.
But I mean, it's not just because I mean, like people going to it is one thing, right? But like it's even someone like James Mangold, like they chase the award season shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And the Oscars also incentivize this. Like
and
that's
those
the thing.
Oscar baits are biopics.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
100%.
It's not even just the fact that like like you go and it's like, oh, the audience loves slop, right? Like because I mean there's so many genres where it's like
sometimes
the directors, but also like the directors are made to, even when there's something good, like even some of the good like Marvel movies or something, right? Like they're never going to get that award season, the award season credit that a few of them deserve, like
unless you're
or you don't deserve. It's still
for best score.
It's still treated like, oh, these are like lesser directors because they're doing this, or sci-fi. There's so many good fucking sci-fi movies they're never gonna get. But if you do
because they don't recognize genres,
But if you do any kind of biopic, like fake prestige biopic or whatever, right?
Give me awards.
They will give you so many fucking awards, or like at least nominations. They might not give you the actual award, but they'll give you so many nominations that
it's a shoe-in for at least the probably supporting actor and actress category and maybe lead. Like it's almost a shoe-in.
And set design, and you know what I mean, like and wardrobe, and
or like an original song for some reason.
Like no one gives a shit about the script. Like if
No.
you're like, oh, we actually made this seem like it's 1960 or something. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, we're just gonna throw this award at you. It doesn't even matter if this is the worst fucking script you've ever seen.
And that's something when Bohemian Rhapsody came out and then Rocket Man came out, a lot of people were like, okay, Elton John made fun of how sanitized Bohemian Rhapsody was. He's like, I'm still alive. I went through a lot. I'm gonna show everyone the good, the bad, and the fucking ugly. And if people are not ready for that, that's fine. And that's why if you're willing to put all yourself out there, you could have a really decent biopic, musical or not. What happens is a lot of people want to protect their legacies, restrain, and that's still very
you get the sanitized story. Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
it's the same.
And we get it over and over and over again, and it blows my mind that in some of the more, like Kristen Stewart did one. It's not a musical, but by Gene Seberg, right? That was not that sanitized, but the one she did, Princess Diana, was kind of sanitized. The Diana one she did got more recognition than the Gene Seberg one that she did. Like there are good ones out there that are very, graphic, very, pull all your heart out and all that, but they don't get as much attention as the very formulaic, stylistic, bombastic ones that are.
Well, that's what I said during the when we talked about Priscilla, right? Like I was like, all right, if you're gonna keep doing this, like, which I don't want you to, like, please stop doing this. But if you're going to keep doing this, please at least wait till the person is dead or like the family's gone and the family isn't like in a state. Like the worst is when the family's in the state and they're like, oh, we cleared the script with the estate, don't worry. And it's like, okay, well, this is gonna be horse shit then. Like this is gonna be terrible. Like, it's gonna be terrible either way. But,
with Priscilla, especially, my major complaint is I felt that the movie ended right as like she became interesting. It's like, no, now this is interesting. Great.
Well, she's
Sophia
actually
Coppola wasn't.
Well, she actually has a book coming out about her life after Elvis. Who would have thought?
Great.
Finally, but I will say this, guys.
That was a little above Sophia Coppola's pay grade, I think.
Exactly.
Once it got interesting. Sophia Coppola was like, I'm out of here. I don't know how to do this.
But I highly recommend reading Lisa Marie Presley's autobiography memoir that she wrote with her daughter because it's so like eye-opening. And I feel like if that was made into like a limited series or something, she would not want her story to be sanitized in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of these estates. And I feel like that's what works with this movie is because there's really, it's based off all these different tropes, all these different artists. Again, the estates try to wrangle what can be allowed and what can't be allowed. And then it's another common trope.
Well, the problem with Priscilla, right, wasn't even the fact that they're sanitizing her part of the story. Is that she was very protective of Elvis's part of the story.
Yeah.
And it's like
even Lisa
like
Marie bitched about it before she died.
Literally reading because I was listening to the audiobook before we did that thing because I was interested in it. And it's like she lets her fucking guard down about herself the entire time. But she was so protective about Elvis. And it's like this guy's like clearly an abusive piece of shit. And it's like, but she's like, oh, but we were still friends. We were such good friends. Like,
so again, for historical context, one of the reasons why this movie is so not just funny but important is this was the first shot across the bow of like recognizing these as modern tropes. Like, and they are tropey. There's so many, and I think that it's.
Do we have time for a list, Conan?
I mean, that would be longer than the show, right? But like, but they're all there, and it's done so just comedically and so like this assassin level skillfulness, and again, largely played seriously, and like let the situation be funny. Like what do they call that? That where there's a name for that. I can't remember what it is, but I mean, even things like. The male frontal nudity in the hotel room, which is like, oh, there's just a guy's balls in frame, which is which
that is
which
I don't know some of them.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but Roger Ebert had a huge problem with that. Like he wrote about it in his review, and it was, which was just like funny because it's like, oh yeah, didn't you write like Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, dude?
Oh my god, why haven't we done that one yet? That would be.
Jerry Casale offered to come on for it, so
okay, let's do that one. That would be. I remember that one very vividly.
But
But,
yeah,
I
no,
mean,
the random fucking ball like behind him, right? And it's not even.
Yeah.
Dude, I was thinking about. Well, I was thinking about the guys. No, but like I was thinking about like imagine being that guy. And
there's
your big
me. I'm
role,
on
like,
screen.
that's your big And so it's like you bring your family.
Nice
to
hog.
See it. And it's just because it's your family's like, I didn't see you in the movie. Where are you? And you have to be like that because his face is in it for 1 second, but like
I was
you
in
know
the
when he's
background.
like behind him or whatever. But like you have to be like that's my penis.
I saw
Like-
a lot of Walton Goggins' penis in the last scenes of The Righteous Gemstones, and I was like, oh dear God.
There was
Yeah,
more
the
dick in
one
there
of the-
than I expected. Yeah.
Yes.
The reason I like haven't watched the full thing yet, I felt like, and what I've heard with people is like they jumped the shark a tiny bit, like with their
they did.
things. They're like, because the Danny McBride thing, his quote was like, because I was like listening to him talk about it, and his quote was, "We were hanging out." No, but I like online or whatever. Like I was listening to like an interview, he
hanging
gave,
dong?
and his thing was
What?
like, "We hang dong more than any other season of the show," and I'm like, I feel like maybe you guys are gonna hang too much dong, like.
And
It's fine. It was good. I enjoyed it.
I just
But-
cannot believe that Rod Ebert like wrote a whole paragraph about it.
Showing his dick. Yes, please stop showing his dick in Righteous Gemstones.
Hey, it's over now. We're good.
Get a moveon.org petition going.
Walk
But, I mean-
hard.
but I love about there you go.
Walk
About
hard,
this
walk
movie-
hard, and then but the dick is flaccid in this movie.
It doesn't look cool, that's for sure. I love how Edith's constantly pregnant. You know, that's great. That's a trope too. Like, you know,
So
and then, like,
36
the
kids is yeah.
right. And the accidental you know, when he marries Darlene, and it's like he's still married, like accidental bigamy, hilarious. I didn't
love
know.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
But, yeah. No, but
yeah.
the line is so fucking funny too. She's like, he's like, well, I did it correctly, and he's like, you can't marry two people at once. He's like, I know, and that was wrong of me. But there's also the line where she's like, Dewey, you cheated on me, and then he goes, is that what this is about? Well, I remember one time I was sleeping and you drank up all the milk. And you never apologized to me, and it's like that's such a good guy who got caught cheating fight, like
arguing tactic, exactly, yeah, absolutely. And there's, you know, it's like when he goes like, God damn, this is a dark period, and then like, it does like the montage. It's so great. I mean, that's so. How can you not laugh at that?
The line. I also love the line. There's two lines that like go together. One of them is that was early Dewey. This is middle Dewey, and then the other one is fucking Tim Meadows turning to him going, this is the end of a chapter in your life, Dewey Cox. As he walks out.
Did you guys know about the promotional appearances for this movie? They treated him like a real he appeared at the Rock Hall of Fame, the Cubby Bear, Stubbs Barbecue, Mercy Lounge, the Great American Music Hall, the Black Sheep,
the
Guitar
Great
Center,
Great American
Good
Music
Morning
Halls in San
America.
Francisco. I played it.
Good
Thank
Morning
you.
America too. He performed as
You and
himself,
Dewey-
and then
you and Dewey
he did
Cox.
fake commercials that were in, including one with John Mayer, with hinting Dewey might be his father. And I'm like, John Mayer, of all people.
So again, just
Genius.
noting the age difference of the panel. 2007, I was actively out and touring, and
I
I
was
found it
thinking-
amazing that they were doing. Like, can I just get through this, please? This like a Spinal Tap thing. Like he was going out as Dewey Cox, like in character, and it was a big deal because like that was something where, again, Spinal Tap had been like practically a generation earlier, really. So there really hadn't been something like that with that kind of commitment to the bit, but people didn't really know what to make of it because they were like, wait. But then people there started to be a Sugar Man thing or what is it? What's the Coen Brothers one? I can't remember what it is. But like
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Inside Llewyn Davis, yeah. Where it's like, oh, is this a real guy? Was it like what's it? And it's like, no, it's John C. Reilly. He's like a noted character actor. What's wrong with you? But
the Inside Llewyn Davis one worked so well too because he it was like right before Oscar Isaac blew up. Like literally,
he was not
before
a known commodity. And in that same way, John C. Reilly didn't have like everyone knows who the hell John C. Reilly is now, right? But like at the time, it was like you had to be a fan of a certain few movies. Step Brothers came out like next year,
Yeah,
Like,
Step Brothers came out. I was gonna say literally a year later, and that's like the John C. Reilly role. I feel like that like rocketed him to like
everybody knew that. I was like, oh, it's that guy. It's the guy that was in the Will Ferrell movie, And okay, but like I remember him all the way back from Hard 8. Paul Thomas Anderson, like he was great in that. Like that was amazing. He's consistently good, but you don't think of him like he's not a comedian. You know, he's a thespian. That dude's a thespian. So it's interesting that it's like he's able to like be so goddamn funny in this, but that also is testament to the direction of the script as well.
Oh, there's like he has so many crazy like this time period, right? Like obviously like like Talladega Nights, but also I forgot he's in Prairie Home Companion, which is like Robert Altman. Right. I forgot Robert Altman. That was his last film. It was crazy. But like also he was in like Tenacious D. He's in, and then like like a few years before, obviously like Magnolia, but also he's in Boogie Nights. And I was trying to think like what's the movie that I remember seeing John C. Reilly in way before, but I didn't see Boogie Nights obviously till after this period. Like I don't think I was watching Boogie Nights when I was 12, being like
I was.
Like, I think I was I think I must have been like 16 or something the first time I saw Boogie Nights. So it was,
my favorite moments is William H. Macy's character's wife always cheating on him. He's like. And she's like, "What?"
I need to watch Boogie Nights again sometime soon. It's been like a while.
I wouldn't mind doing that if we had the right panel. I think that'd be a good movie to cover. That's interesting.
I also like oh god. What the dude's like shooting at them after like they're like in the dude's house and he's like shooting at them because over like a bad like drug deal or something like that, or I don't know, but that shit was funny.
So again, the reason why this works so effectively for me is that this genre was already becoming stale in 2007, and and now it's like a trope within a trope, right? And again, maybe if Weird had gotten a wide release instead of like
Roku
being released on Roku, then maybe that would have been different, because it is definitely, those are movies are very much birds of a feather, right?
Yeah.
But you see these tropes now, and you can't help thinking, wrong kid died, or it makes sex even better, or like whatever. You can't help like doing lines, so to speak, of the movie at other movies, because when they do it, it's like, oh my god, amazing! I can't believe they're doing it. I think that like there's something to be said for comedy that does that. I mean, Spinal Tap did it, right? But like Spinal Tap was ahead of the mockumentary thing. This is something where it's like, no, the biopic industrial complex was just getting going. But again, the fact that Mangold did there's a scene from this movie that's in there, it blows my mind. And it really is, because this is, as far as I'm concerned, again, you can make an argument for Weird, but this is kind of the final word on musical biopics, or it should be anyway. And I'm not saying that you can't do, but it's like, okay, you can't do these things anymore. Like, you got to figure out another way to do it.
Make it authentic. Make it real. Don't be sanitizing shit.
Or go the other way. Go the Todd Haynes route. And like, that was at least interesting, where it's like, oh, this is, some of these are better than others, but like, okay, you're collecting together this guy that has had worn many different masks over the years, and like having different actors play. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Okay, that's kind of cool. Doesn't all work for me, but okay, fine. Yeah. But then that goes back to what you were saying, Forrest, about like, every mainstream biopic Oscar wannabe just being like, oh God, really? Like, and that's, and again, I was way harder on A Complete Unknown than maybe I should have been, just because it's like, you've done this. You have done this, and then it was done better and funnier as Walk Hard. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then, but some people like it. So, okay. All right. Some people like it. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's so incentivized in such like annoying ways. The whole genre. Like, it's crazy, because there's so many more worthy genres. Like science fiction never gets its due, and yet some of the most transformative, I guess, movies that you can really think of are like science fiction movies. But it's like, who the fuck lives their life by like a biopic they saw, or like lives or like has their life changed by like oh, I saw like this biopic and my life was changed by it. But like science fiction movies, a lot of times they're like literally like people decide to go into different science subjects, I guess, based on seeing movies, and it's like that doesn't get rewarded and incentivized in the same way. But like whoever the fuck the musician of the month or like the actor of the month, it's more insufferable when it's like an act, the story of an actor.
It's a platform for an actor to get an Oscar nomination, right? Yeah, and but again, it usually, even when it has, it's usually like cloying. It's done in like ways that are manipulative. Like it doesn't have like a center. Like they don't. These movies don't have to have anything inside them, really. And they're just artifice. I mean, look at Maestro, right? I mean, like Jesus Christ. Like, because technically speaking, that is a musical biopic. But I mean, Walk Hard, the title track. Marshall Crenshaw wrote it. It's great. That's like one of the great Johnny Cash spoofs, and it's like it's perfect. And you have, Dan Byrne wrote a bunch of the songs as well. And you have like from all eras, like when Johnny Cash had his like crazy, like coked out 70s TV show and was doing like disco renditions of, that's in there, right? And like you get
dressing up as Elton John on SNL.
Yeah. And
that was good.
And you get the Brian Wilson-esque like recording montage too. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Love and Mercy ain't too bad, but
Love and Mercy is fine, but it's just it's like it there's no quarter given on any of these, and God, it's all the better because of it. Because there's a real commitment to it. There's a real commitment to just the idea of treating it earnestly, but like this is ridiculous, and like we're gonna have fun laughing at it, even if we like some of this stuff and or like seeing the history, we are going to excoriate it at the same time. And that's done. Some people try. It's rarely done well, in my opinion, especially these days, because it's harder and harder to do these days.
Yeah. I feel like if you're going to do any type of biopic, it really should just focus on a specific time in a person's life where they really hit like a high. And I think that's why Oppenheimer worked a lot, because it was like within like a 10 to 15, almost 20 year like time period, and cut up into a really good like 3-hour movie. Or if you're gonna do, or if someone's career was taken so short, like La Bamba or the Buddy Holly story worked really well. Yeah. You didn't need a 2-hour long movie going from like birth to death. Like here's where Richie Valens started as a teenager living in the San Fernando Valley, then it became famous and blah blah blah. Like same with Buddy Holly, like it didn't really start. You don't have to start from like the very, 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 very beginning of someone's life, because honestly, who cares at this point? Like we get it.
That became, and as much as I like Walk the Line, and I do like Ray, like that became, this is what you got to do. This is what these movies are. And both of them were actually lambasted at the time for like, wow, it's crazy that these artists that had like, such amazing epochs of time for their careers, that this filmmaker just tried to do the whole thing and put it all in one movie. Isn't that weird? And now that just became like, that's what people do now.
Yeah,
it's because those movies were wild popular.
It's fun. It's funny that Oppenheimer almost works for the opposite reason, where the book, like the book that it's he's ripping like the all of the stuff from, which American Prometheus, it took them 25 years to write, and like a chunk of that book is like boring. I mean, I didn't find it boring, but like for like a random person reading it, it's just kind of like all the different like hopping from school to school, and his parents were like in this, here's where his parents came from, and here's why they left. Like there's just so much of that, and it's like I feel like Christopher Nolan was like, all right, let's cut that into like 2 scenes where you have him try to poison his
which did not happen,
like a real thing
according to his grandson.
Well, I don't know. It's in the book though, but like, so they have that, and it's like this is kind of a metaphor for the background of Oppenheimer's insane genius and like frenetic style, and then we just kind of go from there. And it's like it works because they cut that out of it, and it's like I don't. It would be so boring to sit there and be like, oh, this is all the schools that Oppenheimer went to, and it's like we get it. He's a smart guy.
And you know what's a musical biopic that actually like was so like went like under the radar was actually Chadwick Boseman playing James Brown.
I actually, despite liking Chadwick Boseman pre-Black Panther, and despite liking James Brown quite a bit, I never did watch that.
It's actually, I was surprised. Like he really it was like he studied really well, but that one, like people forgot about that one because I guess no one knew who he was.
Like an unknown actor,
yeah. I mean, in where I come from, James Brown's a fucking legend. I mean, like Beach Island in Augusta and all that.
Of course, yeah. It's 2014 Chadwick Boseman. So yeah, it's like before he like
baby.
Before he
I
was
did
like,
I did know who he was, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting because I was like, who else would play James Brown? And then I was like, that's crazy. Like, who would play James Brown? And I was like, oh, that guy's good. Like, I don't remember like what I saw him in.
He also played Jackie Robinson.
I don't remember what it was, but it was
like,
before he was. Yeah.
He's played two legends, and again another one that got like if they actually got away from doing like artists, but like what about like athletes and maybe like directors or like like stop just doing musicians. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe branch out a little bit, guys.
I mean, maybe that's why I find them all so deplorable because I am a musician. I just again I find it maddening because it's just this really stale, gross take on it. Like where it's facile. It's so surface level, and it's like it's paint by numbers, right? That's all it is. It's a paint by numbers book, and like that's again, that's why this is great from the very beginning. They're like, oh, that's Dewey Cox. He has to think about his entire life before he plays. Amazing. You know exactly what kind of movie you're into, right? Because if you've ever seen a biopic, you're like, holy shit. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, and it's essentially like a good they do the thing where it's like Mr. Cox, and they're like tapping him on the shoulder, and then it's like, son, he's got to think about his whole life before he plays, and it's like, then you get the. It was crazy watching After Sinners where it's like, The second you hear like that, like, oh, we're in like Alabama or like Mississippi or like the Mississippi Delta. It's like the whole bit where they do the thing, and I don't know why they keep doing it, but they definitely did it a lot in the 90s, where it's like it's like a young kid, and even in comedies, I feel like they should stop doing it, where it's a young kid and they're like, no 6-year-old knows nothing about the blues, and then the kid ends up like being like the world's greatest blues player or whatever. Like,
right.
I feel like they've even done that in like in comedies where it's like it's a little too much, like.
Yeah.
Well, and that's which is so funny because it's he's got he plays the blues. He got this deep blues man voice, and he's like a kid, right? And that's hilarious because that's a trope as well. Like all these, like again, this could just be a reading of the tropes, and like it would still be entertaining, right? But I mean, it really. Like it hits, and there's a lot of jokes that are thrown out here, a lot. And honestly, the hit ratio 80% to me, right? So there's like so it's not like every single one hits. Probably 2 out of 10 probably doesn't, but it doesn't matter because there's another one coming right up. Like it's and I think that I miss that kind of filmmaking where because now with comedies. Like even the tags and the tags for the tags all have to be just so like focus grouped and like, oh God, whatever. Like I'd rather see a few like swings and a miss to sort of like, oh yeah, but this one that hit is like even funnier now because of it.
Yeah.
And they throw so many of them at you that it's like, that every single one of like, you're like, all right, like there's 10 jokes flying at me. And if 8 land, like that's a crazy ratio.
Some of them are running gags like the sink thing, like, I was like, what's this man have against sinks?
Yeah. And he just
well, when he was a child,
yeah.
I don't know. I like the lampooning of these like one-note characters that are clearly just there to move the plot along, but they're just saying like the same line, right? Like I mean, of course, like my customers come here to dance erotically, like that line, and he says it like 3 different times.
Yeah.
But then they also do the thing like I know you're gonna fail, and then she's on the phone. She's like, "You're gonna fail," and it's like this. Like they're not afraid to do this like repetitive thing. And like the character, the Tim Meadows Sam character or whatever is like out of all of them. Of course, that's like he's like the biggest, the biggest setup to everything because he's always like, you never once paid for drugs, not once, and everyone else has the grievances, and he's like, and you never once paid for drugs,
right,
yeah.
Nice.
Well, and then like then there's the running gag about him like pursuing like doing music and going on the road and constantly getting lambasted for it. I just love that I'm actually doing quite well for a 15-year-old with a wife and a baby.
Like,
you can do it. I can. Anyone can do it.
Because it starts off because she's like Dewey, you're only 13, and he's like, you hear that? I'm Dewey's 12-year-old girlfriend.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, all that works. comedy is comedy, right? Some people just like, aren't going to find things funny. But I mean, I think this is aged like fine wine. This is, it's so
gotten
good.
better.
Yeah.
You're
right, Kristina. I think it has gotten better. Yeah.
There's this whole sequence that they cut out of it where it's Dewey's leading a civil rights march for mulattoes, and it was called like the mulatto song, and they have signs, and it's like there's like, and so he's like there's been civil rights marches lately for he's like for the black man, and people talk about the white man, but nobody talks about the person in between the two, and
right yeah,
so he's leading a civil rights march that
finding a cause and then reverse engineering that's so great. I mean, it's like big, like, what do they call it? Lampshade hanging, right? Like that's but it's like it's such a rock and roll trope. That's so perfect. Yeah, I mean, there is a whole other movie that like was basically on the cutting room floor for this, and that's worth exploring. They did a I guess it would have been a DVD release at the time, but they did a pretty good. I think they called it the Cox set, if I remember correctly.
I forgot that the actor who plays Gideon in Righteous Gemstone played Dewey Cox Jr. in this movie.
That's right. Yeah.
Skylar Gian Friend, whatever.
Gisondo?
Whatever his last name is. I do not like that actor very much. He already had that fucking weird thing about him as like a child. Like this is crazy. Like he has this weird like over eager but also kind of like shabby energy, I guess, as a kid. And it's like, like you're 10 in this movie or 9 or something. Like
there's way too many this cast is so stacked though. My goodness.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like Jenna Fischer, top for game, right? John C. Reilly, we already talked about. Kristen Wiig's great in it. Tim Meadows is amazing. Margot Martindale, Chris Parnell, and Matt Bessner, in the band, amazing. Harold Ramis, it's great to see him.
It's like,
love Ghostface.
They just keep bringing up different like classically overly Jewish actors.
I mean,
each one of them is like dressed up as.
Also, to a lot of these folks have been in like Judd Apatow movies in the past, present, and like future as well. So it's like he knows like who the cast is.
Well, they're also. I mean, The Office was happening at the same time, and like a lot of them are just taken from The Office. I mean, Ed Helms, obviously, Craig Robinson, like
you're right.
Jenna Fischer, like.
And that was something that remember that I mean that show was huge. That it was after about the first season it was huge anyway. But like it had a lot of replay. I feel like it was sort of like I was like, oh, it's the chick from The Office. Like everybody was like,
that was the first movie I remember seeing her in. That wasn't the first movie, I guess, in general that I remember seeing her in. I guess she was in Blades of Glory, I guess, the skating movie.
Oh, that's a funny one. I like that one too.
But like the first like big role that I remember seeing her in is this, where it's like
right, because 2005 is when The Office kind of hit big, right? And so this happens like 2 years later, so it's still going, but it's like, oh yeah, this is like a totally different kind of thing for her, and that's just it's fascinating to me that like what doesn't because now people I don't know, like I feel like it's The Office is known, but like it's not like how it was. Like it was like everywhere.
Conan, I have some bad news for you about The Office.
Oh no.
Peacock is doing a spin-off based on the documentary crew now. About how they were when they were filming The Office.
All right. I mean, like when the horse is dead, dismount. You know what I mean? Like it's enough, right?
Enough.
It's freaking Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Cash. Is that what that's what it was?
I guess so.
I mean, like, fuck out of here. What are you doing? I do think it's interesting. First of all, Jake Kasdan, the actual director for the movie, did that. I didn't watch it. He did that Red One movie recently, which is like it looked very unfortunate to me. But he did the Jumanji sequels / reboots. I actually like those. I thought they're pretty entertaining. With what I think Karen Gillan is wild underrated. I do not care for Dwayne Johnson. I think he's good in those movies though. But I was just trying to think of like what other stuff that dude had done, And like it's like those Jumanji movies, those are okay, you know.
Yeah, don't. I'm not ready for the next Oscar scene with The Rock doing that Safety movie because that's a biopic as well.
The wrestler guy or whatever, yeah, or mixed martial artist guy, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's annoying. Super annoying.
It's finally taking his career seriously, I'm assuming.
But I mean, yeah, like so. This movie does a lot, and I think it does it all pretty goddamn well. Like I said, even if only 80% of the jokes hit, like it doesn't matter. The hit ratio is so good, and it's just so incisive that I feel like it. I feel like it should be bigger than it is, and it still, you know, does look. Actually, how did this movie do at the box office? I remember
it's a cult classic.
Yeah, I know it's called classic, but I saw it in the theater, and I was not seeing a lot of movies then. I took the time to check that out. Yeah. And let's see.
Also, Conan, the father of the director, Lawrence Kasdan, he co-wrote the Star Wars films.
That's where I know that last name from. Okay,
Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Bodyguard, Body Heat, Silverado.
Yeah.
That's some talent right there.
Yeah. I knew the name Kasdan from somewhere, and I was like, I don't think it was just from this. Yeah, that's right. He's the co-writer of the first three, you know, whatever
and the solo Star Wars prequel.
We'll forgive him for that. I think he also wrote Raiders, right? Did you say he
wrote
Raiders?
Did. I did. Yeah,
amazing.
Raiders.
Wow. So that's his son, who did this in the Jumanji movies. Okay, fine.
His brother's also the uncle's also a screenwriter too, who co-wrote, you know, Silverado and Criminal Law. Dreamcatcher.
That stupid Bad Teacher movie is the only one he directed.
Yeah. All right. Even a blind chicken finds a Colonel Corn now and again.
But this movie was his idea. Like it's kind of crazy. Like, he pitched it to Judd Apatow, and he was like, we should co-write a movie, but do it as if it's Oscar. Like everything about this movie should scream Oscar bait. And so, like every part of it,
because it's freaking perfect. Yeah.
So they're talking about things I didn't even know necessarily existed. Like I can't remember who they said they watched a biopic of, but they were like, listen. I mean, one of them was the Marilyn Monroe biopic at the time, but there was like other ones that they were listing on. And I was like, I didn't even know they fucking made biopics of that person. Like.
Right.
Yeah. My date with Marilyn was actually a good one because it just focused on a very, very specific time period. But then the blonde one, I know you love her, Conan.
I didn't watch it.
She's the only good thing about that movie, but everything about that movie was god awful and like not. She's literally crying, like her aborted fetus is like talking to her in this movie, and I'm like,
I heard enough about it. I'm like, I think I'm going to skip that.
Yeah,
which is saying a lot because I do like Anna de Armas a lot, but I was like, no, I'm not going to watch that. That's not going to be a thing that happens. Yeah. I don't like watching things I think are going to suck.
Especially with it's like pure trauma porn. Like, oh god, no.
Which is too bad because that guy Andrew Dominic, he did a really good Nick Cave documentary that I really liked a lot. And he did like another movie I really liked a lot too. Oh, he did the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which I quite like that one as well. That's
not every. I mean, again, like there's some that are good, like miniseries, like the one about Judy Garland that starred Judy Davis was not that was pretty good. But again, like miniseries can,
it is possible to do these things good. What I'm saying is that they frequently are not, and I don't think it's. I'm like so brave for saying
tropes.
Exactly. These tropes exist for a reason.
We need bingo. We need musical biopic bingo.
Biopic bingo. That's definitely all right. Next biopic we're forced to discuss in Oscar season, we'll do biopic bingo. I'm totally.
There we go. Let's get it going. All the tropes.
The line that really fucking like kind of broke my brain, and this one like rewatching it. The 60s are an interesting and important time.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Somebody in the 60s saying that, like, they're just saying that, like, the 60s are like, referring to it as the 60s and be like, the 60s are an interesting and important time. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure that's what people talked about at the time. Yes. Like,
yeah, I'm sure. Exactly. It was discussed. Exactly. Well, yeah. And again, that's part of the trope of like taking things that we know to be, oh, this person is famous or this was an important time or whatever. And then everyone treating it as if it is then as well, which is just like so. I don't know, man. It's just tiresome. Like it's all this stuff is just so like there needs to be a break from this kind of movie, much in the way that there needs to be a break from like other kinds of just like it's enough with these for now. Like, can we just like we can bring them back eventually, but it's enough for now.
Super meta horror movies, perhaps.
I mean, that's God enough.
Yeah, see, you know, I mean,
some earnestness would go a long way.
Another Screen sequel with a bunch of anti-Palestinian folks who are willing to screw over the main lead that brought everyone to the theater. Okay. Why Sinners is still doing so good.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that again, it isn't to say that you can't make a good biopic, right? I'm just saying that people don't. On the whole, they don't. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes, but think about like if you just look at like the genre of musical biopic, and again, a good point was brought up earlier, right? Many of them, I haven't seen them, I ain't even heard of them, but like they crank these things out like it ain't nothing because it's real easy.
I will say I always bring up Jersey Boys because that's they call it a jukebox musical, but jukebox musicals are just stage shows that use an artist's catalog to go with a plot like Mamma Mia. Jersey Boys was actually like a bio musical, and when Clint Eastwood adapted it, he took all like the soul out of it and a lot of the music out of it, so it didn't help tell the story of the Four Seasons' career in the 60s. It was very confusing, and I really did not enjoy it that much. Even though I know all the cast in that movie, I'm like, what the hell, Clint? This is a very boring movie. Like it had it had some biopic tropes, but it was just so boring and just went on too long.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like there's something to be said for satire, for lampoons, for something really doing something well, but something has to be hacky. Yeah. Something has to be repeatable in a certain way for that lampoon to be able to work. And again, that was the case in 2007, and it's like more so now somehow.
I feel like there's also like this whole really tired kind of biopic thing went along with audiences becoming extremely dumbed down. Yeah. Like there's no expectation that as like a collective society we have these, like, we know these backstories, or like that we necessarily are going into movies knowing anything about. Like it has to be spoon fed to like the lowest common denominator, where it's like, okay, just for your the Beatles are a group that had these different songs. Like everybody,
as everyone knows, they're from Liverpool.
Yeah,
and they played on the clubs of Hamburg, which is very dark. Yeah, exactly.
And they brought the British invasion to America when they performed on the Ed Sullivan Show back in blah 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 in 1964.
Exactly.
Which is kind of funny, because I think that like if you're creating a world, you actually get to. You're creating a world, and it's not like a thing that you're recreating of like a person's life. Like you're allowed to start at an assumption that's actually higher and like more, more creative than something like this, where you have to go in imagining that your audience is going to know, like it's going to be a bunch of kids that don't know anything about the 60s or don't know anything. So it's like the 60s are an interesting and important time. And you have to tell your audience that, or it's like the civil rights movement.
Show.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. All right. Listen, the civil rights movement were an important time. And Letterboxd is a film media site for social media folks, for people to talk to and with each other about films that they love, maybe the films that they didn't love, maybe the films that they again and again pointed out is pretty much just a complete unknown in a lot of ways, and or walk the line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody gets to have their say, not just the Stills and Eberts of the world. Ebert didn't like the dong in this. Noted dong disliker Roger Ebert did not like the dong in this, but it's a bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say and chime and opine. That's, of course, best expressed succinctly, where the best one-liners are pulled for the purposes of this bit that are put on screen for Forrest and Kristina and everyone else in the show, I guess it would be me, to react to in no times. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Let's go. A great double feature with Sinners.
Dude, kind of like, not double feature necessarily with Sinners, but the part that's like, and then the like, and then it's like, no 6-year-old child knows nothing about the blues, and like watching that after watching Sinners.
All that's missing like, good Irish jig. Let's go.
Well, like the Miles Caden character, where he's like, "What does this 20-year-old know about the blues?"
Seven.
Yeah, no, it's funny that was that's a movie that we've done very recently. To reading that was really funny to me. I was like, oh,
and it's
great. Love it.
But they managed to do something like different than any movie I've ever seen with the blues in that movie, and it's like, hell yeah, like because I mean, obviously it helps to have like an actual, a person who's steeped in like Black history and culture doing that rather than like a white guy being like, I'm going to include some blues to show that this is where the guy's background is from.
Exactly. Imagine that in the movie. Anyway.
But like it's the same at the beginning, be like,
it's the
when
same.
they're like going to Alabama.
The same stuff. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? Yeah.
It's like Alabama, 1946, and it's like that does seem like it, I guess. Like,
whatever you do, do not let Dewey Cox near my sink.
He's got no.
It's got a lot of sink damage in here.
Mm-hmm.
It hits differently when my mom's bathroom, they had to pull the sink out pretty recently, and it's like
huge shout out to everyone that learned to play a musical instrument by smell.
he would have been so screwed if he had to learn to play a musical instrument by smell.
Make fun of his disability.
They also do such a good when you get to the smell back, like because it's like not saying it's psychosomatic, but like when he smells, he's like, did you wash your hair today? And it's like, yeah, it smells lovely, and it's like, I smelled it, and then
exactly.
he's on the ground, and he's like, I smell this horse shit. It smells horrible. And he's like,
right, yeah.
Fucking God, take my hearing.
It's good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I too like to dance erotically in a well-cleaned floor.
Look, as someone that worked at a bar for a little bit, I mean, not very long, but like,
closing
it would. By the end of the night, that is not a well-cleaned floor, and it needs to be well-cleaned if you're going to dance erotically. Huh?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Good point. Yeah.
People are so fucking slovenly. They like when you work at a bar, they'll just drop the straw on the floor in the cup and like you know what I mean, like anything you can possibly drop. They're just like,
okay.
It's like the end of the night. People are sweeping up, and it's like, dude, I don't know. Y'all need to like civilize yourselves.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned that Quaaludes and water skiing do not mix.
I love that the kids like. Why'd you do all those things, Grandpa?
Yeah, it's great.
Dewey Rahim.
Dewey Rahim, yeah. That's right.
I remember thinking the funny because like watching this as like a teenager, like the things that hit were different, and I remember the line when he's like, "You sure you're one of mine?" and it's like an Asian kid with blonde hair. I remember laughing.
Right.
I remember laughing for 10 minutes and being like, I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, it's super good. Me thinking about the state of parody films versus how many music biopics keep getting made after this film and will continue to get made. Wrong genre died.
I mean, but the parody films were not that good, especially they were being done by those two directors who kept making like the Vampires Suck movie and like the
epic movie,
Meet the Spartans, like oh god.
The only comedy so good it killed an entire movie genre forever. I wish.
Yeah.
Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Please give the show a follow on our Letterboxd at Movie Night Extra account, where we are logging all the movies that we cover on this show, as well as attendant short form material and other materials. We've got a pretty big backlog at this point, but follow us anyway, because we're going to get up and get going with that. It'll be a montage.
One of these days.
Exactly.
Oh, you're gonna finish that for us. Finish that thought.
How? Right to the moon.
Get out of here, Dewey. At Always Flacco as your host there, Forrest Miller. You can follow him for all the movies he's covering for this show, as well as stuff that he's watching just for the heck of it. Follow his journey along there, and you can see what he's watching now. There you go. Wrong pick died at Conan Neutron. That's me.
I remember. I remember. I got canceled on Twitter at one point for like a full week because I said wrong kid died to somebody with the picture of the grandpa.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
You can follow me from the highbrow, the midbrow, the populist fair, as well as for the Criterion Challenge. It's going to be probably pretty sparse for the next few weeks, but I'm on there. I'm on Letterboxd, and we'll definitely be picking it back up post-tour. Best biopic yet, Kristina. Kristina is logging stuff on this show and more than ever. Movies, now more than ever. And you can follow her, Kristina. And yeah, that's I guess that's that. So let's hit with the plugs.
Oh, yeah. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
Well, so as mentioned, Jason Rivera from Gaytheist, they opened up for the Jesus Lizard on Thursday, which is the normal Protonic Reversal slot. But I had him on Friday. So that's the newest episode of Protonic Reversal, Jason Rivera of Gaytheist. One of my favorite records of the year. So that's a good time. That is the last Protonic Reversal until I am back from tour, which we'll get to in a moment. ProtonicReversal.com for the archives, $1 a month advance access. Patreon.com/Protonic Reversal. Subscribe on all the platforms. You can get it anywhere you find your podcasts. But yeah, there's going to be like about a month-long hiatus because I am going on tour. So as mentioned at the jump, first leg of the tour coming up this week in mere hours. Quarry House, Washington, D.C., O'Brien's, Boston, Massachusetts, Fetty Lounge, Providence, Rhode Island, Gutter Bar, New York, Thunderbird Hall, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, West Side Bowl, Youngstown, Ohio, Lager House, Detroit, Michigan, Liars Club, Chicago, Illinois, then, of course, Catterall, Minneapolis, Minnesota, which we'll get to shortly. Then we have the next leg is with Elephant Rifle. All these shows are with Elephant Rifle. This is the Mountain West. So we have Sioux City, Iowa. We have Rapid City, Rapid City, South Dakota. How dare I? Wow. We have Casper, Wyoming, Montana, Missoula, Montana, Boise, Idaho, Reno, Nevada, and then we're out on our own for Bend, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Oakland, California. Then we meet up with Cosmic Kitten for Palmdale, California, San Diego, California, and Los Angeles, California. So if you're in any of those places, please, please, please come see Neutron, The Secret Friends. New record, Way the Neutron, is out. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com. Pick up a digital copy, pick up a vinyl, pick up a CD. All that helps us very much. We're going to have those Who Dare shirts that we got in Japan. We have some of them coming in American sizes. So a lot of people were kind of bummed that only extremely small people can have them because they were Japanese sizes. So that's available now. That's again, can't overstate it enough. That's like the main thing I do when I'm not doing these. So any support up to and including mentioning to friends that you may have in those cities that, hey, maybe you should come check out the show. It's always deeply, deeply appreciated. NeutronFriends.com. I'm going to be on WMSE, which is the Milwaukee College Station, tomorrow morning at the time of this recording at the Shape of Rock, 8 a.m., talking about the new record and the tour, Japan, all the great stuff that's been going on. So please, if you're that's archived online too, so you don't have to be in Milwaukee.
This is your 2007 Judd Apatow year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm everywhere. Yeah. Tune in for that. There's a couple other things going on as well. Nothing that's public yet. Caterwaul, of course, is a mere 2 weeks away. Caterwaul, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 523, 524, 525, 526. An amazing time, like 40 plus bands. Really just one of the best rock festivals or noise rock, whatever the hell you want to call it, of the year. If you're remotely in the area, you should probably already know about it and potentially already have a ticket. But if not, please dive in. If you have people in the area that you think should know about it, let them know. It's a great time. It's a great time, and it's a lot of work. We do it every year. We'll see. Every year it's sort of like, this is the last year, and then we keep doing it. But if people come out, then that's good. And traditionally speaking, that has been a problem, but we're doing a new place this year, so it's always a little bit of a worry as far as that goes sometimes. That's about it. I mean, I'm going to be on tour a lot coming up next few weeks, so I'm not going to be on the show. But you guys have some interesting stuff cooking, and I know we've got some real bangers when I come back. So I don't even do we want to do those or?
Yeah, I mean next week we're having Dead Domain on, which is gonna be fun.
Yeah,
and they're gonna talk to us about the other guys. It's gonna be a good time.
And then
it's crazy. It's a movie that Kristina actually got to ask Adam McKay about before we do an episode on it.
That's right.
But then.
We're gonna tag and be like, "Yo, we're talking about your movie."
Yeah, we're talking about you, bro. And then I'm gonna go to Caterwaul, and then I'm going to a music festival for a couple of days. But I'm gonna be back on June 6th. We're gonna be doing Suspiria. We got to figure out the details for that.
Yeah.
But then after that,
we might do Suspiria versus Suspiria.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing Suspiria and then doing the two of them and kind of comparing the.
Oh, the Luca did that one.
Yep.
Luca
yeah,
Guadagnino,
Luca
right?
Guadagnino.
Yeah,
I mean,
is Dakota Fanning in that? I never watched it, but is Dakota Fanning
Johnson?
Dakota
and Mia Goth. No, wait. Yeah,
different Dakota.
Yeah, different Dakota. There's a big difference, like forehead.
That's like when people confuse North Dakota and South Dakota. People get mad about that. I'm like, nobody cares.
Wait, which of the two of them is North Dakota and which one's South Dakota?
There's no such thing as Dakota Johnson. It's just one Dakota.
Dakota Johnson's North Dakota and Dakota. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe,
Suspiria and Suspiria would be interesting. That would be an interesting.
Yeah. Suspiria versus Suspiria. Which colors are the coloriest?
It's like Spy versus Spy. Different.
It's crazy. Suspiria invented colors. Everything was black and white before that.
It was crazy. Yeah.
But then we're doing.
For thinking of that innovation.
I can't remember. I think the order is Goodfellas, then Jackie Brown, right? Yeah. So we're gonna do Goodfellas,
Finally.
which it's the other. It was May 11th the other day, and that's everyone was sharing the Goodfellas thing where it's May 11th, 1980 or whatever, where he's in the car and they have the title card. Yeah. And then we're gonna do Jackie Brown, and then TBD after Jackie
we're
Brown
gonna do Barry Lyndon, but I think we're gonna move it because there's apparently gonna be a Criterion reissue of it, so we're gonna move it to be around that, so it'll be more in July. Yeah, that's exciting. Obviously, we've only Quentin Tarantino we have done is Reservoir Dogs.
From Dusk Till Dawn,
right? From Dusk Till Dawn, Robert Rodriguez.
So it's 1.5. It's 1.5. 1.5 Tarantino's.
Yeah.
Well, because we've also done True Romance. I guess that moves it up to 2.
If you consider the right.
True Romance.
Anyway, whatever. It's actually one of my favorite of his movies. So I'm really excited to do that one. That's gonna be
Quentin. You've been halved.
That's going to be with Josh Dugan of Unkind Rewind podcast. So he's going to be coming on for that. Yeah. That's going to be great. I had a blast being on that show. That's a good show. I actually listen to it regularly. So, that's a good half of the summer. So there you go. Kristina, what do you have going on?
Not a whole lot. Life is terrible, but more and more people are coming onto my stream, and they're like, "Wow, Dark Shadows! What? I haven't seen this in forever." And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." They're like, "Wow, I remember this. This is so cool. You're the only person doing this cool thing." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Thanks." But people come for the politics, but actually no, it's why people are coming for the Dark Shadows and staying for the Dark Shadows. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Probably gonna take a few days off because I'm gonna be going from one dog sitting job to literally right next door to this house. And I'm gonna spend one night home and then go next door to Sammy and Bubs. I'm gonna start calling her that now because her name is Sammy, and I'm just gonna be annoying her. She's a Sheltie. She barks all the time. It drives me nuts. But yeah, covering the politics and the pop culture and all that jazz. Yeah, trying not to go insane because I'm off my bed. So, yay.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, if you do go insane, just live stream it. You can live stream it, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, that's the girl that went insane."
Yeah.
And then more people will flock to it. They'll be like, "I need to see what you just put a body
crash
cam
out
on
she's
yourself."
doing. Move over, Ethan Klein. Okay.
Okay. All right. Put a body cam on yourself, and then go walk into a police station and just see what happens. Just be like, "Look, I've got the body cam this time," and see what happens. You know, like, I mean, that's an idea.
Speaking of which, Ethan Klein's taking the rest of the week off to not stream so he can make another video about Hassan.
I mean, that sounds like a great waste of life. I don't know. There's somebody needs to do the great react video. Like, someone needs to do Walk Hard, but for the react video genre, where it's them reacting to someone else reacting to someone else reacting, someone else reacting, and you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until
it's
that
like when
genre
I'm watching a
video
video from the Vanguard because they're reacting to like another video that's getting reacted to, and I'm like in the corner right here, like.
They need to keep going and going and going until you get like crushed by all the different windows. It's like, because there's too many different windows of people watching stuff. Like, they're reacting to something, reacting to somebody, we're reacting to something else. And the thing that the first person's reacting to is like a video of a childbirth or something, like them being.
It's like a react inception.
Yeah, I actually saw a TikTok. I guess there are college classes, nursing classes where if you want to be like a nurse that helps like give birth, they show like they do like the fake like torso with the the body part, the vagina and all that, and it's like, oh, it's coming out, and I'm like, why are there juices coming out of this fake plastic body out of the birth canal? I don't get it. Like, oh, I don't want to see that. I'm not kidding. I saw that on TikTok. I'm like, why do there need to be fluids coming out of this fake plastic body for a class? We get it.
Wow. Okay, it's a lot to unpack there, but sure.
So yeah, then also I have a TikTok about Hunter Schafer that's going viral a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, about her Met Gala look.
When she was hot.
At the Met Gala, and I've been having fun with guys because they're like, "That's a dude." I'm like, if that's what a dude's supposed to look like, then what the? Okay, a nice tall, leggy blonde with big tits. If that's what you think a man's supposed to look like, great, good for you.
They're like the whatever, like the iconic man. It's just like a lady blonde with tits. They're like this is what a man's supposed to look like.
Yeah,
Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? Like,
they made her woke.
They did.
They changed. They gender swapped Marilyn Monroe. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot I was featured in the Huffington Post recently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right next to
right
with
next
Marta,
to a friend of the show, Marta. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cringy moments, cringy pop culture moments, which was, I was like, you know what? I remember a lot from 2005, but honestly, I should have added that Hayden Christensen is now beloved as Anakin Skywalker, which I'm surprised, but you know what? Whatever, it's cool. It's cool. The writing's gotten better. The writing's gotten better for him now.
Yeah, the writing, I think, is people did not give enough discredit to the writing for like
the Obi-Wan show really
right,
rehabilitated him is what I'm gonna say. Anakin's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I had a lot of problems with those movies, but you know, like it became increasingly clear that okay, that's one of the reasons why.
One of my favorite memes of all time though comes out of Revenge of the Sith, and it's no, it's the killing it's the Anakin one, and it's like at the very end of the movie where he kills the younglings, but they're like I've seen Anakin. He's out there killing Yinglings, and instead of a lightsaber, he's holding like a fucking like a tall boy, Yingling tall boy.
Yeah,
he's killing Yinglings. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, not that we're talking about that particular Star Wars, but I have the same problem with that I have with the end of Game of Thrones, which is just it's not that I dislike the scene to the conclusion, it just feels like you jump to it without like any characterization that would lead you up to it. So, I mean, that's a problem.
I did see a thing today that somebody I did see a thing today that it was someone was talking about how George Lucas was explaining the like why it took so long to make the second Death Star, and one of the things was they were like, oh, union contract, they were having problems with union contracts or something, and I was like,
right,
that's hilarious that like the Empire exists and they're still like dealing with unions. They're like Darth Vader's like collectively bargaining with the fucking union guys on the Death Star.
right, yeah, the collective bargaining thing, yeah, it's great. Anyway, I guess we could have dropped. There could be some Star Wars.
Yeah,
but maybe not the one you think.
The Phantom Menace. We're covering the Phantom Menace.
Can you imagine?
The best one ever.
We did. Yeah.
Listen to a video outside.
Wow, that would be my last show, unfortunately.
I like the conspiracy theory that like Jar Jar Binks transformed into a Sith.
Right. Oh yeah.
They're like,
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
They're like he was the master behind Palpatine or whatever the whole time.
Yeah. That was, as far as unhinged conspiracy theories go, that was a pretty good one, I thought.
Yep.
Anyway.
So is that are we ready to jump to final thoughts?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I gotta go jump into the van fairly soon. So,
Kristina, you got some final thoughts on Dewey Cox?
Yeah, this film has aged better than fine wine, honestly. I mean, it hits all the tropes on the nail, and the fact that Hollywood hasn't learned much from this film. It's obviously not enough people have seen it, and they probably should, because then they can make better biopics that are not just pure Oscar bait. Yeah, please go see this movie. Hollywood directors, writers, whatever, please watch this movie, because then you might actually learn and realize that you've been doing the same formulaic bullshit season after season, year after year. Thank you.
Yeah, at least try something new.
Yeah, exactly. Give it a shot. Give it a shot, please.
The 2020s are an interesting and important time.
Do a biopic about COVID.
Some final thoughts about this. Is your last final thoughts before
my last final thoughts for until June, right? So I'm not allowed to have final thoughts anymore. I only have secondary thoughts. Quite simply, one of the best satires of a movie genre to ever exist, and the fact that people are still making films this tired and cliche genre when this film so definitely lights up with a flamethrower is kind of insane to me. Like I said, the joke hit ratio is probably closer to 80% than 90%. But for actual fans of music, there's enough hilarious lampooning here to totally make it worth it. John C. Reilly is at his best here, and that's saying a lot. That guy's a great actor. Really good character work all around. None of it would work if the songs weren't so good. Songs are very good as well. And I think we need to bring back clever and ruthless parody like this. We need it. Bring it back.
Bring it back. Anyway, Conan, good luck on tour. I know you're going to walk hard. You will walk hard.